So something that I have, so I'm spiritually a chud. I'm a total chud. Like I think like the modern day is like destroyed. I'm like Evola maxing. I'm like we need to return to tradition. Like I have this strain of thing in me, and I feel this more strongly about like modern art, modern music, modern film. The one place I don't feel it in is like the literary space, and especially the theory space. I think there's like incredibly like fresh, fun stuff happening, especially as the internet has grown and like the entire land hauntology scene has reached the Islamo-schizos as well. There's some really, really fun stuff happening. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the space of dark Hackism and all this fun stuff. What are your thoughts on it?
Bro, I think that it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that there's a long way to go, but there's a good start.
Yeah.
And like, remember when you first discovered SAIF,
Yeah.
right? And actually, it was a burger. It was a fan.
Yeah.
It was a viewer who introduced me to it. And then I sent it to Arbaz and I was like, bro, what is this?
Yeah, and didn't she ask you like, are you guys SAIF by the way? We're like, oh, what the
Yeah, and I was like, no, I'm not SAIF, I'm Momi, this is Arbaz. I don't know
what
what's
are you talking about?
Right?
So for our viewers, SAIF is like this niche internet, subculture society of alternative Islamic futurology. And we were asked if we were SAIF. And no, we're not SAIF. But through that, we got like these fun resources on SAIF.
Yeah.
We went on their website. I read their entire like thing in like 2 days. It was quite interesting, and this was right after we did the land video as well. We went like Gooner level deep for land.
Yeah.
So it really, I was like, I was ready to absorb that stuff because their entire thing is that they take that Deleuze-Guattarian terminology, Landian terminology, and apply it to a more Islamic theological framework. So it's quite unique. In some places, it's a little bit gimmicky, not gonna lie, but they had like some fresh, interesting ideas, some really, really fresh stuff.
I like the fact that there's a syncretic approach from a purely philosophical, creative angle.
Yeah.
When it comes to my personal views on theology and Islam, what I feel they could do a better job on, and this applies to most young fields, is it's too based in and too in dialogue with the Landian, Deleuze-Guattarian space.
Yeah.
Like, I do think you can use those vectors, you can use that terminology, but you need to, take its reins and turn it into something more original, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like right now, they're really entrenched in the framework. And so, which is why it gets a little bit derivative.
Yeah.
And there's not enough.
If you look at the more recent stuff, it's gotten a lot better. Like I don't know if you know Iqra post, Iqra files on Substack.
It's one of the first things that
No, but like the newer stuff is really good.
Yeah.
It's good stuff for sure. I've been keeping up. I'm subscribed to it on Substack. I follow them pretty decently. I'm not sure if Iqra is part of SAIF, but I think it's the SAIF adjacent scene. I like some of Iqra's stuff, man. It's maturing. It's maturing.
It's just that this is not so much as a criticism or like me saying that this is a bad phenomenon or not.
Yeah.
This is just, it's meant to be more constructive.
Yeah.
But like for example,
Yeah.
when we were talking about land,
Yeah.
right? We did not explore this angle as much during the land episode. We can go into this at a later date. But for example, some of my analysis had to do with unleash Landian techno capital. A big part of it is, so the metaphor I used was, for example, modern AI uses synthetic training sets of data to proliferate its efficiency. The idea there being something is created out of nothing. It's artificial.
Yeah.
And I liken that to how you create money in the interest-based system.
Yeah.
Right. And that was my way of kind of full circle coming and saying that this is how technology and capitalism are the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. In the accelerationist sphere.
Self-affirming, anti-human logic,
Yes, and
autonomous logic.
It remains for me to take it far enough. But the point there for me personally would be to then give an Islamic analysis of usury,
Yeah.
right? So I would like to see, and I would like to do myself, more of that, where you're applying it to things that really do need our immediate attention in the Islamic world.
Yeah.
Right. So the syncretism isn't bad. It's because it's an analytical tool, but I think it should lean more towards Islamic outcomes.
I mean, that's fair. I don't. I mean, I'm okay with that. Yeah. I would like to see some more of that type of stuff as well, in its own way. I'm not sure how much their expertise lie in those fields. I think they're like more schism maxing than econ maxing for that particular topic. But I hear where you're coming from. I don't necessarily disagree. A guy who does take that angle, and he's not self, but a guy who does take that angle, who takes a more multidisciplinary approach, economics, geopolitics, theology, philosophy, that is Beria. This guy's a prolific writer, man. I've been following him on Substack even before. Like I've been following him for a while. Amanullah from Eon plugged him to me then, and I'm like, no, I follow this guy. And he's like, yeah, this guy's really good. I'm like, yeah, I already thought he was quite good, but having that cosign from him as well, it's like, okay, you feel a little bit more, okay, the guy's legit, because Amanullah's knowledge in this sphere is quite expansive.
Yeah.
So I think he's doing some pretty good stuff. He's playing with all the Western canon, a lot of the time that's like, he's mixing Heidegger into analysis, mixing, a lot of these Western titans, but at the same time being quite true to the local stuff. Like he's plugged me onto a few guys. Like I know, like I was mentioning to Javed, Akbar and Sari to you.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. One of the most interesting critiques of capitalism. Like it's like the first, like, it's not the first, but it's like one of the more unique Islamic critiques of capitalism, because when you think about critiques of capitalism, the first thing that comes to your mind is more of that socialist Marxist framework critique of capitalism. But he recommended me this book, Rejecting Liberalism, by Javed Akbar.
And what I really like about him in particular is there's a depth there which you generally don't find in the Pakistani space. And I don't know if that's partly why he's not as popular as some of the other guys in the space. But there's a seriousness there. This is someone I would say has done good work in the Pakistani space.
Absolutely. And the thing is that he's f***ing prolific, man. The guy is dropping like two articles a week. He's dropping like four big, lengthy text analysis Twitter posts a day. So really, really good resource if you want to understand this space. Well, he's a PhD, man. He's doing some really good stuff.
Muslim Skeptic?
Muslim Skeptic. He writes for Muslim. Muslim Skeptic is like the page. I think Daniel Haqiqat Ju.
Yeah.
It's his website. Bhaiya is one of the writers there. Yeah, some good stuff there. I gotta plug our boy from Reviving Iqbal. Ibn Akbar, funniest guy. Some of the funniest.
What was that? Ikama Mysticism.
Ikama Mysticism.
Apara Abyss.
The abyss of Apara, Metro Sufism, Dark Haqqism.
Yeah.
Dark Haqqism is the mainstream one. What was it? Civil military Gnosticism.
It's genuinely hilarious.
Praxio Kakshahi. That's the crown jewel.
Yeah.
So he's really, really funny. Very, very philosophically informed, Islamically informed in when he talks about this stuff. He just started Substack recently as well. He's gotten 2 articles out, both great articles, by the way. I recommend anyone read it. I recommend you read it. I don't know if you read them yet. They're really, really good. Interesting, original takes. So overall, I think this entire space of like this schizo-Islamic sphere, and even the non-schizo one, the more like, academic types like Kasurian, Barlas, even though he doesn't write that much, Vizier Report, that's more geopolitics. But there's good stuff happening in this space.
Nah, dude.
A lot of people ask me for recommendations about like, oh, what are you reading that's more contemporary? And some of the best guys are on Substack, man. Some really, really good writers are on there on Substack.
And I think this has definitely evolved into your forte of sorts. Yeah. I'm not as adventurous with contemporary content.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I feel like I've always had when it comes to Islamic content in particular, I've always had kind of a hesitation when it comes to contemporary content from the Anglosphere or in the English language. Haven't really thought about why. Which is why I've been like primary text maxing, or in the more contemporary guys, I've been listening to subcontinental scholars more than I have been reading.
Fair enough.
And not to take away from how prolific these guys are at all, right? But if you take anyone from the subcontinent, and you know, early days we used to talk about this, where I used to often say that like people want to talk about like diversity of thought in Pakistan, and it's like, dude, compare the Islamic Academy, the array of madrasas, right, to the Lamzes and the IBAs and the Habibs of the world. There is incredible intellectual breadth and diversity on one side, and it's not the universities, right?
No, absolutely
The liberal stream of thinking at the universities is very uniform, very brick in the wall. To the conservatives also, it largely applies, right? You may not agree with what the clergy does. I often don't. I have a fundamentally, you know, clergy cautious position. Not anti, but a bit cautious, right? In terms of bowing to one, let's say. But dude, these guys, even the more Sufi-oriented ones, have such incredible metaphysical depth. The range of knowledge they have going back like literally 1400 years. And then even like they are aware of where, say, the Neoplatonist influences in Sufism come from. These guys know this, right? So they've got a cultural awareness and a self-situatory awareness that I think is really important for anyone trying to understand what the space is. So whether it's like, you know, someone who's very clerical, like a Mufti Hanif Qureshi, or, you know, someone more controversial like Maulana Isaaq, or some guys are even more mainstream and more accessible like Dr. Israr, or like, you know, Ismaili metaphysicists like Khalil Andani. Like all of these guys form this mosaic that I believe needs to be studied. And the guys you're mentioning are doing like, you know, it's future oriented. These guys are still grounded in some kind of scripturalism, but it is very rich. Like in terms of finding a foundation. And I think that some combination of both would make like a deadly arsenal of knowledge.
Absolutely. I think both they're complementary. Because the guys you're talking about, of course, they're the foundation. But in terms of like that future-looking element,
absolutely.
I mean, there is an element of, I can understand where you're coming from in terms of suspicion against stuff that's written in the English language. But most of these writers, they're mostly like.
But to be honest, I don't have some kind of like real reason. It's just like, I don't know what it is.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. I'm not like crucifying you over it. I mean more in the sense that most of the guys who are doing this, they are like either like OSPs, local Pakistanis, quite a lot of them as well. A lot of like a lot of them are Middle Easterners. A lot of them are Middle Easterners. So they
some of them are reverts as well. It's a pretty like it's like, you know, it's universal.
Absolutely.
It's virtually pan-Islamic. I find it really interesting.
Quite so. And I think just generally something needs to be said about like, I mean, the better part of the past year, right? Like I have grown to appreciate Substack as by far my favorite social media platform. I feel like all the cream of the Twitter, YouTube, IG crop in terms of intellectual depth are all on Substack right now. A lot of people are writing. What you know for sure is that there isn't that much corporate interest behind a lot of the writers over there. They're just guys writing or girls writing for the love of the game over there. So not just in this space, but overall, some absolutely fantastic people doing some fantastic stuff. Like I plugged this guy neoliberalism / Hermes of the Threshold to maybe 50 people so far. And I would say that out of the 50 people, 10 of them who opened it, all 10 said, bro, this is fucking fantastic. Really, really fantastic stuff. You know, a syncretistic project of philosophy, history, geopolitics, mysticism, Carl Jung adjacent mysticism, like, you know, like the Aquarian ages, the occult type of stuff. So it's a very, very syncretistic project, but it's like what Professor Jang. It's like Professor Jang times 200 in terms of intellectual maturity. That's how I would describe neoliberal feudalism's project. So if you enjoy Jang, you should 100% check out neoliberal feudalism, in the sense that it takes that same line of thought, the syncretistic thing, but way, way, way more intelligent.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've been reading some interesting stuff recently.
Yeah.
It ranges. There's a lot of 20th century stuff. So that's more like Ruhollah Khomeini. There's a lot of Iqbal, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm speed running Ali Shariati. And maybe it's the fascination with Persia and Persia adjacent, which is what's happening in the world right now. And then the entire line from like Plotinus, Ibn Sina, Sorwardi, Mullah Sadra onwards. But yeah, bro, I think it's finally time I come out of the closet in the burger shop as a literature geek. Like that's like my primary orientation.
Yeah.
And like fiction, poetry, all of that. I've been reading a lot of South American literature. So
I've only ever read one Gabriel Garcia Marquez book, 100 Years of Solitude, that even in high school. I haven't delved much into South American stuff.
GGM is a great start.
Yeah.
But the world there is so dense.
Yeah.
Right? Bro, it's incredible. Like, I could plug a million authors, but today I'm just going to talk about one. Borges is for me,
You mentioned him before,
I talk about him all the time.
Yeah.
He is an absolutely transformative figure for me. And there's a reason I think that he's been referred to as a writer's writer. So if you're really into literature, I think you really do respect the kind of work he does. And the thing that I'll come to his Islam awareness.
What's his angle? What's his thing? Like, it's very tough to answer that question in a single sentence, but try to summarize it.
Man, I'll tell you what my connection with him is.
Okay.
He's writing in this era where all these magical realists are writing, right, in South America, and they're very famous. I don't think I need to name them. But there's a lot of dealing with infinity.
Yeah.
That's something that I really enjoy. He's got this one short story about an infinite library.
Yeah.
And once you start reading and you're like, okay, maybe this is, a fiction writer's exploration of infinity.
Yeah.
And you realize, no, this is a philosopher's exploration of infinity written into a story.
Yeah.
Right? The thing that will strike you most when you read anything from fictions or beyond is he creates miniature worlds.
Yeah.
Right? And it's to the point where he'll be making references to, say, a newspaper inside a story. And it'll be said with so much gusto and reality that you'll think that it's referring to a real newspaper.
Yeah.
But it's literally just something that he's invented within that story.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I've enjoyed Borges to the point that the reason I started learning Spanish and got to an intermediate level was that I wanted to read Borges in the original Spanish.
Okay.
Right? And just as like a kind of final sign off, he has a lot of awareness about Islam.
Okay.
It's riddled throughout his
He's like
works.
a South American Goethe.
Bro, that is actually, that's not a bad way of putting it, but I would say the influence is even stronger and it's more explicit.
Okay.
He continually refers to it. He writes about the world of Islam from Egypt to specific stories that are like Sufiya adjacent in colonial India.
Yeah.
Right? So he's on like...
There's a common Abrahamic lineage there. South America being quite Christian. Is he Catholic?
He's South American, so I'm guessing, he's Catholic. He is.
Let's assume, but he's definitely Christian. I mean, so
but,
there's a mutual Abrahamic influence.
And I'm not even going to lie, I didn't really have some like metaphysical direction which I was going with, so then I was just geeking out over it. I wanted to talk about Borges.
Yeah, why not?
And just, like something really fascinating about him is that he began going blind near the end of his life and he lost his sight gradually.
Yeah.
And you see, in a very deeply ironic and beautiful way, that the more he loses his sight over the years, the more introspective his work becomes.
Wow.
Right? And it's like a very literal, like a very beautiful transition. and at this point, I'm just spitballing facts about Borges' life.
Yeah.
But another really interesting thing that a lot of people have a hard time reconciling him with is that this deeply enlightened, usually apolitical, explicitly apolitical, like he didn't deal in like slop,
Yeah.
but he was for a right-wing dictatorship,
Yeah.
which a lot of people just couldn't understand. And then
Yeah.
he went on to be like the head of the National Library.
Okay.
And I think that's part of like a larger pattern of a lot of these guys, or at least I've noticed in writers that I like,
Yeah.
they somehow end up being right.
I mean, look, there's a reason why you enjoy someone's
Yeah.
voice, right? It's because they are affirming something that you held,
But
you hold deep inside your soul.
It's on a very spiritual, conceptual level because there's never anything explicit in his work
Okay.
which is like right wing. In fact, you would never guess it. Right?
Yeah.
You would think that he's some kind of very like I don't do politics kind of like I'm only like.
I feel like if somebody doesn't talk about their political opinions much, my default tends to be he probably falls more on the right conservative aspect of things because
Yeah.
left libs tend to like wear it on their chest quite
Yeah.
a bit, wear it on their
Yeah.
sleeves. So if somebody is like apolitical, it's like the rule of thumb is he's probably more conservative, more right wing than he's than
yeah,
not.
yeah,
Like Michael Jordan,
perhaps.
for instance. Like Michael Jordan, famously, even Republicans buy sneakers. I think today he has some affiliation with that
Yeah.
scene. So yeah, like if somebody tends to be a bit more
And with him, though, the way that I saw it was that when I saw, so I read maybe 2 of his books before I read anything about him.
yeah.
And then I thought about the books and I was like, checks out.
Yeah.
Like, perfectly checks out.
Yeah.
And there are things that probably would have made people think that he leans lib or left because he is so accommodating of other faiths and
Yeah.
writes so extensively and so sensitively about the rest of the world, right? But I think he was just like a non-reactionary guy who wasn't necessarily principally right-wing in that moment, but he thought that was the right
Do
particular.
you think there was any of like that Julius Evola Rene Guénon strain of traditionalism in there?
Bro, he is deeply well versed in Gnosticism, Kabbalah, all of that, to the point that one of his really close friends
Yeah.
who wrote a book about his life, like
Yeah.
a massive like 1,000-page volume, right? The cover of that book is the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, right? That maybe overstates how much his interest in that was, but he was deeply interested in it.
I think this tends to be true about a lot of really, really great writers. Maybe not Kabbalah all the time, but definitely there's a Gnostic element to them. Like
I
tell you
don't think he was Gnostic himself, but
Yeah.
he loved reading about the stuff and referencing it in his work.
Yeah.
Like, put it that way.
I mean, in the sense that, like, there is a strain of Gnostic adjacent break the matrix type thinking, break the matrix, or like this world is inherently evil and they have a Hobbesian view of nature. That line of thinking,
And he was
does he fit
very
that
like,
mold?
he had a lot of like, we're living in a simulation type. I'm toying with the numbers 0 and 1 and what's real and what is infinity. And that's a very common theme throughout.
I mean, that's one strain of it, but like, if you even look at, I tell you one of my favorite writers ever. I would say I don't read much fiction, but there's one guy who I absolutely love, Cormac McCarthy. Cormac McCarthy is basically like an existential Gnostic type, positive nihilist type figure. Blood Meridian, in my opinion, is probably the greatest book I've ever read. It's definitely got the greatest villain ever. I'm not going to get too much into it, but even this guy, like, quite well versed in like the Gnostic imagery, and these guys tend to have a Hobbesian view of nature, that nature is inherently evil, and not evil, brutal, malevolent, and it's only through certain very, very fragile structures can we keep the outside out. Do you get what I mean? You see a little bit this in like a Dostoevsky as well. I wouldn't call Dostoevsky a Gnostic, but I would say that he tends to have this, nature is inherently kind of f***ed up thing.
You
and
need
you
a
need to
strain
kind
of realism.
And you need to kind of find like the good, the divine spark within you. Like, this is a consistent theme in Dostoevsky. So I don't know, maybe somebody's going to shit on me for saying it's Gnostic adjacent, but there is a Gnostic element to it, finding the spark of divinity in pure darkness.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they're feeding these Gnostics.
We'll go hard on this.
You think
sometime.
Professor Jiang's a Gnostic, right?
Matt, I heard in an interview he said something like that.
Yeah.
That sounded very Gnostic adjacent.
Yeah.
But I'm not entirely sure.
I get the vibe that he's like a Gnostic. I also get the vibe he's like a Gnostic traditionalist.
He's definitely got some like
crossover.
perennialist strains of like eternal morality.
Yeah.
There is a strain of truth that is manifested everywhere type. He has that angle to him.
Yeah.
I do think so.
Yeah.
I do recall him saying in an interview that he doesn't believe in hell, for example. Now I don't know if he believes in like
That's such a Gnostic coded way.
so is it
it's
like
you know,
that's
because the
what gave
Gnostics
me
are like hell is already the world we are in.
So that's
the
why
next thing has to be better. Like, you know, the next thing is either limbo, either your soul goes bye-bye because you're an NPC Hylek, or you get to ascend and get united with the monad because you know, it's only up from here. So for
that's
him
why
saying he doesn't believe in hell, it's kind of a Gnostic giveaway.
No, that's why that's where I got the idea from that he might be.
Because Yaldabaoth, the evil god, has already made this world in a certain way. I mean, that's Gnostic theology, right?
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting. These guys make some very, very interesting things. I find Gnosticism, the entire scene, fascinating.
And it is.
Absolutely fascinating.
Speaking of
Yeah.
people in high places, people in positions of power.
Yeah.
Bro, there's a certain person of power whose style was commented on recently, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shehbaz Sharif, man.
Yeah.
Shehbaz Sharif, yeah.
Shehbaz Speed, bro.
So, Shehbaz Speed, man. So, the guy who commented on him, he's a very, very well-acclaimed menswear guy, Derek guy.
We've spoken about him on the pod before.
We've spoken about him on the pod in the early days. I'm not really a big fan of Derek Guy because most of like I'm for our audience, I'm quite into like fashion and menswear, as you might be able to tell, because we did an entire episode on fashion once, right? So I keep up in this space. I don't like how, you know, they have this point of view that you know, modern fashion is a right-wing phenomena, you know, looks don't matter to fashion. It's like, okay, like, can we just stop the cope for like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Definitely very, very well informed. I'm never going to challenge him in like, do you know how many grams this wool cashmere silk blend is? How much is the right amount to have in the summer? Like, I'm not going to challenge somebody like him on something like that. But in terms of this place where these guys tend to go, where it's like how you look physically has no bearing on your style, I disagree with this fundamentally. Like, you know, I'm more aligned with that Rick Owens line of thinking that, you know, modern couture is fitness.
Working out.
It is fitness, yeah. So, and this is like inherently true. People can cope about it, but if you're in good shape, you can wear like a black Zara V-neck with skinny jeans and a shitty LV belt, and you look better than a slob in a Huntsman custom suit. Like, you will. It's just how it is, you know? So he tends to be more on that stream of things where, you know, he just judges it very, very on the clothes aspect of it. But
don't you think, for example, that my position on this is that yes, the fit Chad wearing the Zara tee will look better and more conventionally appealing than someone who is in bad shape in a Huntsman suit.
Yeah.
But there's a case to be made for the guy in the Huntsman suit or anyone who's not conventionally good looking that they have a great sense of style.
You don't have to be conventionally good looking. You do need to be in shape, because all of your greatest fashion icons ever were in shape. They don't have to be jacked. They don't have to be muscular, but they're at the very least slim. Be it Gianni Agnelli, be it like, you know, Aristotle Onassis, be it you know, Paul Newman, Steve McQueen. These are like, every menswear nerd who has a Pinterest page is going to have these guys on the front page. Even if you look at the modern incarnations, Jacob Elordi, Austin Butler.
No, sure. But I'm getting at it from a different angle.
At least in great shape.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And that makes them icons of menswear, they've got aesthetically, objectively great proportions and things that suit their body.
Yeah.
There is also a world in which Tony Soprano is a style icon in his own right.
Yeah.
He has that typical Italian mobster thing going on.
Yeah.
He's not good looking. He's not in good shape.
Yeah.
But for someone who walks and talks like a Tony Soprano, there is also a version of great personal aesthetics.
I think
that's the case I'm
I
making.
think it's easier to be in shape than to be a Tony Soprano, because Tony Soprano's style is you only like Tony Soprano's style and think he's cool because he himself is a fucking
Exactly.
badass.
That's the point I'm trying to
it's
make.
So if once again, I think that's an even more unrealistic standard than being in shape, because it's like, yeah, you can look fat and be out of shape and look cool and stylish. You just have to be a 190 IQ mob boss who's an absolute playboy to do it. Like,
but you know, this manifests in other places as well. Like, for example, take a Pakistani example.
Yeah.
I look at like the poets, like I take Faiz Ahmed Faiz, or I take like John Elia.
Yeah.
Right? These guys are skinny to the point that, like, you know, like they're like sticks.
Skinny,
right? They're
skinny.
No, but bro, they're not wearing anything nice ever.
Yeah.
Right? But because they've got the aesthetic of like the tortured poet, the tortured intellectual.
Yeah.
मैंने मतलब plain सा white सलवार कमीज पहना हुआ है और एक simple सी फटी हुई shawl पहनी हुई है. Right? That personal style, because of who they are, will never be beaten. And I would argue, I know people in my life who are not good looking, conventionally very good looking, who do not have the proportions down, but what they wear fits who they are so well that I'm not going to blast them to the masses and say that you're a style icon, but I'm going to say what you are stylistically. That aura is just perfect.
That can be true. Like, look, not everyone has to be an Ubermensch. Everyone can be a Marde Moment, as you put it once, you know? But when we're talking about the Ubermensch, even the guys you're talking about, John Elia and all these guys, right? They were unbelievably cool people. Like, you know, one in like 10, 100,000 type.
Yeah, but everyone's got the uncle who's like, everyone's got like some uncle or some, like, it could be like I can think of like,
but
I can think of like people who are like drivers or like, you know, who hold modest positions. And I'm like, bro, what you're wearing, perfect for you. You should rock that blue waistcoat.
But here's the thing. You know? That I agree with you.
Yeah.
That I absolutely agree with you. But those people you're talking about, right? When you try to like, you know, Pinterest board, try to recreate that style, it's not going to work. Like dad core.
But you don't have to.
It's like, you know, that's what people do. Like dad sneakers. It's like the effortless dad, the you know, the skinny fat, you know, Norwood 4 dad did it and it worked for him because that's his personality. But when a bunch of like Pinterest matcha boys try to do it, it's not going to hit the same way.
You know, but that's why
I mean?
That's why I think these people who are unconventional in their style are particularly inspiring, because people who are truly inspired by them, in my opinion, the way I look at them, right, is the reason I find a Tony Soprano and a John Elia as inspiring stylistically is not because I like what Tony Soprano is wearing or I like what John Elia is wearing, is because I can see that it is so true to themselves. What that does for me as an observer is it inspires me to be more true to myself. That's the angle I'm coming at it from.
So then it's not exactly a fashion-related thing as much as it is
a personal style thing.
Not even a person, as much as it as like you are Khudi maxing. And because you are Khudi maxing and you're good at Khudi maxing, and because you have this natural charisma, everything will kind of work.
And I think that's the highest form of style.
Absolutely, but I agree with you.
And I think that is the one that, as opposed to like a Gianni Agnelli, right? Most
Gianni
people
Agnelli was doing that and he was doing that. You know, he was doing both.
You know, I'm just saying that, the stuff that he's famous for, even say like a Pat Riley is famous for, right? Is stuff that most people will never even know enough about to execute, right? Someone can go and make 10 suits, if you know, they don't know what what a lapel is supposed to be like, or they don't know what the different materials are, or they simply don't have the money to keep going and throwing crazy fits. The only path is to John Elia Max or Faiz Ahmed Faiz Max and be like, I'm going to do something that works for me. Pakistani's fashion tier list.
Okay, wow.
And we'll just like throw together whoever. Like John Elia, Faiz Ahmed Faiz, right? These guys, I think people are going to be like, oh, like, you know, the Patawa Shalwar Kameez pehante the.
That's
I'm like, bro, that's who they are. They are the tortured artist. They are the grieving poet, right? And if they're putting on like a frayed shawl and a flimsy shalwar kameez, that is, I think, absolutely A tier. Right there.
Okay.
Right there.
Cool.
What do you think about, in her youth, in her youth. Benazir Bhutto.
Yeah.
You seen those pictures of her at Oxford?
I haven't looked too much. I've seen a bit. I tend to think that was just the meta at the time. Like a lot of people were going around dressed like that. You know.
I would agree.
You know,
But
so it's like I think we also have like that nostalgia rose-tinted glasses when we look at old things.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So I don't know where to rank it. I'm gonna go B because it objectively looks cool. It looks okay, but I don't want to say like it was something really, really out of the ordinary because that was kind of the meta at the time.
Yeah, the flared jeans, like the tweed jacket, stuff like that.
Everyone was doing that.
And it's also
This
because
is like the late 70s, right? This is the late 70s we're talking or mid 70s?
probably something like that.
Yeah, come on, yeah. That's the
But
meta. Like,
she did pull it off really well.
Yeah,
I will give it. She pulled it off really well.
No, yeah. She was conventionally attractive. She was slim, like I was saying before. Yeah. But you know, everything. Yeah, but she did okay. Yeah, I've got no problem.
What about like who else is super stylish? You know Zia Mohyeddin?
No, I don't.
Zia Mohyeddin, I think, is so he's like the uncle who is like a famous TV presenter, and he has all of these like he had this very, very strong British accent, beautiful Urdu as well, right? Impeccable suits, and you look at him, and he is like the ultimate brown babu, right? He's like the brown sahab, but it's never cringe because, like you know. With like the old like Nawabs and stuff, like you expect them to like, you know, just have like perfect English, but then they have broken Urdu or something. But this guy will like hit you with Shakespeare and then hit you with like Ghalib, right? And you're like, okay, he's on to something.
Okay.
Like that kind of guy. Imran Khan.
S tier.
Do you think he is one of those people who more than anything just because he has aura?
Yeah.
Because it's not like he's not like Spreadzatura maxing. He has
some nice fits here and there. He's Imran Khan, bro. Like, you know, he could wear a fucking Marks and Spencer suit and he's gonna look better than everyone.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
You see, like,
as a person is more anyone who looks at Imran Khan and is like, you know what? I don't like the proportion of his lapel. It's like you're a fucking nerd. And that's my issue with people like their guy. It's like, well, just shut the up, you know what I mean? I don't have time for this. So S tier, like you can't do anything.
Like whatever your feelings are about him, it is clear S tier.
Clear S tier.
What do you think about Shahbaz Sharif's suiting? My take on it is that I like some of the stuff, but at the same time, I feel like if he went more clean lines, British structured in a heavier way, I think that would actually suit him.
Okay, so he tends to do that generally. I would say before and after his premiership, there's a marked change. I would say before his prime ministership, he was a little bit too flamboyant for me, to the point where I didn't really appreciate it. It felt like, those cats in Tom and Jerry? Those gangster cats in Tom and Jerry?
the ones with the very, militant shoulders.
Yeah, so I got more of that vibe rather than like something extremely snazzy.
Yeah.
It was objectively beautiful clothes. I didn't think it necessarily fit him, but I think he's taken a bit more of a restrained approach, and I think it suits him more as well. I think it suits his stature as well.
He's got the bowler hat thing going on as well.
Yeah, like I don't necessarily love a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? I think it's a little bit costumey for me. You can be very, very into it, sure. But I think these days in fashion, too many people are trying to cosplay. I don't accuse him of this, but too many people are trying to cosplay as if they're from the 50s. With like these extremely full cut pants that have like, an extra 5 meters of fabric inside. Like, just chill the out on this stuff. Like, I get it. The reaction to skinny jeans, the skinny era makes sense. Let's go back to normal proportions. But like this really, really costume coded, like, high rise to where it's coming below your chest with suspenders. Like, I'm not about
the Yasin Tarabia. I see you follow him as well. You know what I'm talking about?
Who?
Like, he's this menswear content creator.
Yeah.
I could never pull off like pants till here. Yeah. But dude, he makes it look fantastic. But that's like, rare type. And also, again, he mogs. So
yeah. So like, but once again, this stuff like, I'm not into cosplaying as if we're in the 1950s or I'm an extra on the Godfather set. I'm not into it, It needs to be kind of...
What about these guys? Like, bro, I feel like all the cricketers miss out on an opportunity to mog, bro. Like, maybe I think besides like Wasim Akram, right? They're all like kind of midding it. Wasim Akram is like, again, has a conventional advantage, not super stylish.
Are you talking about
but I
when you
like
were young?
Now, but
No,
or young.
Here's the thing. Once again, now I think there's always this element of rose-tinted glasses about the past because there's these cool vintage-looking pictures
Yeah.
with like low grain that just makes everything look cooler. That maybe if you were there, you'd be like, "What the?"
Yeah.
You know, so I don't necessarily want to take too much into that. I haven't really looked into too many cricketer style. Coming back to Shehbaz, I would say before it was like a C. Now I put it at a B. Because I think the more restrained approach suits him better, like less safari suits, like the one that Derek guy mentioned. It was like a cream double-breasted. That's still very very loud, but I think
It was very loud.
It's a very very loud thing.
Yeah.
But it worked. It was fine. There was something about it that felt like, okay, you know, this is okay. But a little bit less seersucker, a little bit less you know, bowler hats, more of this type of stuff, a little bit more restrained. I appreciate that type of stuff, you know.
You remember our former foreign minister, Hina Rabbani?
Yeah.
Mogs, bro.
I haven't seen any of
Bro,
this stuff.
again, it's like, it's all like Pakistani Eastern clothing.
Yeah.
But it's it's very Benazir, like later life Benazir coded, right? But again, for the role she was doing, absolutely perfect, I think. Solid A.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Anyone else you can think of?
Not really.
Yeah.
I don't think there are that many like style icons in Pakistan, if I'm being honest with you. The biggest style icon is Ayub Khan, which we already got viral for. I'm not going to
And people got already mad at us for pointing out
They
that.
were getting mad that how can you say Ayub Khan had style? He was a dictator.
And it's like, buddy, I'm not like some Ayub Khan apologist. It's just he had good style. He had good style.
He did good
Even
shit
the same
as well.
thing.
He did
Even the
good
same
shit.
thing with.
Honestly, if I have to stand on a side, are you pro or against? I would go pro. I don't give a He made the Tarbela Dam. The economy was growing. We did some serious shit. Like, I'm pro. You know what I mean? That's not the point. Let's not get into this too much.
Yeah.
This wasn't so. We already had a political episode recorded 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think generally speaking, there's nobody I look at and I'm like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you.
Okay. Another thing I've been thinking about, referring to viral reels. Our most viral reel ever.
Yeah.
Karachi, Lahore. We were making some Karachi, Lahore jokes.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about it since that day. Humne sahi kiya? Did we do anything wrong? Did we cross any lines? And I've come to the conclusion, after some genuine introspection, that absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, I was thinking about it because this PSL commentator, said that Karachi wale na wo paan ki peek thukte hain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, yes, it's not a nice thing to say. It's unprofessional. Okay.
Kind of funny.
But it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And I, as a born and bred, like thoroughbred Karachiite, I'm not gonna sit and cry over it.
Yeah.
Right? If I wanna.
And if you're getting sad over it, it's only because it's true and we don't keep our city clean. So go off.
Bro,
like,
if someone says that to us, we shouldn't be getting mad at them and like, you know, just going bonkers.
Yeah.
We should be like, Lamhai Fikri, I'm axing, bro. We should be having an introspective moment.
We should be thick-skinned about, like, you know, intra-racial jokes and stuff. Like, you know, it's like there's no problem in telling a Saraiki, like, hey, did you steal my wallet? Like, you know, what's the problem? And it's like same way you don't have to, you know.
If you want to make ghada khane wale jokes to Lahoris, when they make mobile snatching jokes, you have to take it.
Yeah.
And dude, I think in principle, like, I want to live in a Pakistan where, like, jaise bhaiyon mein mazak hota hai na? Yeah, you can make these light-hearted jokes and then move on with it. And it goes without saying, there's certain lines you shouldn't cross.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I feel like...
honestly, I don't think it's that deep, bro. Like, I'm half Memon, I'm half Pathan. I'm like the equivalent of the two most Jewish archetypes in the subcontinent mixed into one. It's like, you know, it's okay. People say this stuff about Memons all the time. You guys are confused. People say it about Pathans all the time. You guys are, I don't know, there are a million things they say about Pathan. I don't really mind. I don't really give a
No, I get that. I get that.
I mean, I don't really give a
it's also, there are certain things that will, like, there's certain jokes people make about Sindhis. There's certain jokes which people make about Pathans. Right? Which I don't think are appropriate for public. I'd make them with my friends. Right? But you shouldn't necessarily be beaming that out to the world. Right? So maybe there's a discipline there, but that's something that should be like naturally arrived at. Right? As opposed to someone makes like a little joke and you like completely lose their shit over them. Like recently there was this controversy where, someone said that like Punjabis and Urdu speaking people are not trustworthy. They said it in a serious way.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about things that are like actually jokes.
Yeah.
And I feel like with जब आपका खुद का दिल साफ होता है ना, when you actually don't mean any harm towards another ethnicity, another group, like that's when you're most comfortable making the joke and taking the joke because you feel like, there's no underlying
But
motive.
who's really getting mad about this stuff?
Bro, a lot of people. A lot of people.
To be honest, people get very, very sensitive about this intra-city, intra-ethnicity shit. Like, just chill the out.
Bro, Anwar Maqsood did this play recently where he very heavily caricaturized different ethnicities. Like there was a Pathan and Urdu speaking Punjabi.
Yeah.
And sure there's a case to be made that he took it too far or whatever, but like it is not worth getting that mad over. And okay, like let's take those people's case for a second. Let's hold true कि ये सही चीज नहीं है and you shouldn't be making these jokes and that it's insensitive. Even then, bro, the reaction should not be losing your mind and come, and it should not be an insecure reaction where it looks like, आपको तब भी, if someone's making fun of your ethnicity and you don't like it, आपको ऊपर से आना चाहिए from a place of security. Because someone saying to me कि like I'm half Muhajir, I'm half Pathan. Someone saying to me कि पठान अखरोट होते हैं कि या मुहाजिर पान की पीक थूकते हैं is not going to change the fact that this entire country shares in what is originally my language. Right? It does not change the fact that we've got an incredibly...
But then somebody can say that, you're Urdu speaking, you're one of the more privileged types, so... It's like they'll give you the same argument that will be like, you can't be racist against white people because white people have an implicit power dynamic advantage over other people.
Take the Pathan example, right? I'll say there, someone comes and tells me कि यार Pathan तो गुस्से के तेज होते हैं या अखरोट होते हैं या whatever, they're thick or they're stubborn. I'll say हाँ हूँ मैं.
बच्चाबाजी.
क्या बोलूं?
कैसे बच्चाबाजी कर रहे हो?
I feel like if it was a friend of mine, I would be like, okay, whatever. But if someone said that in public, I don't think that for me is a stripe too far when it comes to like public engagement. But again, even if someone said something like horrific like that to me, my reaction wouldn't be like, how dare you? How could you? It wouldn't be indignation. It would be like, okay, cool, you made this joke, move on, right? Because that joke does nothing to lessen the legacy of Pashtuns in the
thing is that here's the thing, like, it really depends on how close you hold something to your heart. Like, some people do take it deep, man. Some people, for them, it's like a very, very outsized part. You can't police it. The best you can tell people is have thick skins about it.
That's my position.
Yeah. But like intra-city jokes get the out of here. Like
it's
I
so
don't
stupid,
give a shit.
bro.
Like I'll say whatever the I want about Lahoris. You can say whatever you want to say about Karachi.
Yeah.
Like, I can like who gives a
Like after the Lahore Karachi thing, someone was like to me, how would you like if someone said this about Karachi? I was like, bro, go ahead. It's hilarious, bro. It's so funny.
I'd be very proud that
you think about
Lahori,
me.
No, I'd be very, very proud that a Lahori managed to put a coherent sentence together. Like, I'd be happy. If a Lahori was making a Karachi joke, like, I'd be quite
I feel like about that, I'm like, bro, like, the reason I am so, like, free in making these jokes is because I don't have any actual hatred towards another city. That's, like, the most low IQ thing that you could possibly have, where you're like, my city is better than your city. Like, just, like, get over yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
But yeah, bro, that's one of the things that's been happening. Another thing.
Self-aware about it. That's the best you can do. So I read this article recently. A friend sent it to me. It's about how this band, which has been getting all of this critical acclaim recently, called Geese, it turns out like they're like a media psyop. And it stings a little bit more because most of your modern day like big music pop stars are psyops. It's like, I don't think anyone can naturally end up liking Jack Harlow or Sabrina Carpenter. But it's like it's implicit in pop stardom that, there's marketing, there's a lot of big corporate backing behind this. So you kind of expect it to be like, this is like, slop, but it's fine. It's slop. It's like Zara music. It's like, you go to a mall and it's going to play. But you don't kind of expect it from the more critically acclaimed type. Like this band was being called like, it's like the return of rock and roll, Gen Z's Bob Dylan. Like there were all these type of things being said about these guys. Admittedly, I haven't heard too much. I've listened to a little bit. I didn't find it. I felt like it was like adjacent to a lot of the more pretentious, critically acclaimed types, Velvet Underground, Radiohead, two bands that get all the praise in the world. I don't necessarily see what it's all about because it's kind of boring and it doesn't sound all that great to me. But so that's where I kind of saw them as like, oh, it's just another like, Critics' Choice type band. But
When
no,
you
it
say-
turns out that it was like one big marketing psyop. There was a specific PR company that was pushing them as this revolutionary new rock music is back, Bob Dylan of Gen Z type stuff. And it's like, nah, son, it's a psyop.
No, and when you say psyop, is it like, are they nepo babies or what's going on that
No,
makes
they're not
them?
nepo babies. I think they probably are people who are quite into what they're doing. It's just that they have an incredibly strong marketing push behind them. But it's not the type of normal marketing push like, make me appear on Spotify playlists or make sure that I'm getting radio time. But it's more like, Pitchfork magazine or,
Like
some
critical acclaim?
Critical acclaim.
Okay, that's what I was trying to
It was
get
like-
at because,
it was like
PR has
engineered-
always been a thing. So what's
Yeah.
different about
Yeah,
them?
it's like corporately engineered critical acclaim, and like this has been quite common in a lot of the film scene. Like you see it in the Oscars every year.
Yeah.
Like this movie that ends up winning the Oscars is like kind of fucking dog water a lot of the time.
Okay.
But it's not as much in music. Like music is very, very taste oriented. It's a lot more democratic than the movie scene.
Yeah, I
But for
think
this to now it's also hit the music scene where it's like it's so bad they're having to like engineer critical acclaim. It's like it's a bad scene, bro.
And
It's a
from
bad
what
scene.
you've heard, do you think these guys are too derivative, or is it just not that inspiring?
It's not inspiring. It's like, like it's just another like folk-oriented rock band that's like, kind of basura and like artistic expression. Like that's the vibe I got. Like I think
Bro,
it's like
this is
pretty
kind
fucking
of-
mid. It's like, it's like the type of dweeb who thinks Yoko Ono's throat singing is like substantial. And it's like, I'm not saying Yoko Ono actually has some decent things. I'm not going to take shots at Yoko Ono for no reason, but it's like, man, it's like, are you familiar with Anthony Fantano, the world's
Of
busiest
course,
music
bro,
nerd?
of course,
it's
bro,
like it's
yeah.
the most Anthony Fantano coded shit
I can't
in the
stand
world.
Anthony Fantano,
It's
bro.
like the most Anthony Fantano coded shit in the
I
world.
can't.
Like,
Death Grips is the best band in the world.
Death Grips is the best band in the world. Anything fun equals bad. Drake equals bad. I think a lot of Drake's new stuff is bad. But it's like, bro, can we just stop letting all the nerds command all the music critical acclaim scene for like
And
5
bro,
minutes?
this is why, like, bro, this is similar to this logic is where a lot of my disdain for the Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole fan base comes from.
Yeah.
Like, I've enjoyed J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar
I've
at
enjoyed
various
Kendrick
points.
Lamar. I mean, you couldn't pay me to listen to J. Cole. I've enjoyed some Kendrick.
When I was like 12, listen to Born
not
Sinner.
shaming
I'm
you.
talking,
I'm
or
not-
like
I'm not-
14, listen
I'm
to
not
Born
shaming
Sinner.
you. I'm not
no,
shaming you.
I know, but I'm saying like at
I like
different
Nickelback when
points-
I was young.
Yeah, bro, but after that, I think Born Sinner and like Let Nas Down was the last time I was like, wow, this is nice. And then I grew the up, right?
Yeah.
And like same thing with like Good Kid, Mad City. After that, I'm like, bro, like.
Pimp a
I'm
Butterfly
kinda-
had some nice
Yeah.
songs. I actually like Damn more than both of those for some reason.
Bro, honestly, after that, I just couldn't listen to it much. And I
Fair
think
enough.
part of it had to do with the fact that I was like, dude, I have been seriously into 80s rap,
Yeah,
90s
the
rap,
90s rap, yeah.
and the proper backpack scene,
Yeah.
right? A lot of the soul-inspired stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of the...
You were into like the Isaiah Rashad, Joey Badass, that type
Bro,
of like, stuff, right?
those guys, yes, some of them are great.
Yeah.
But then also, like, bro, just going back, like, I started with, like, I don't know, like, Rakim and shit, right?
Okay,
So,
okay.
like, when I was younger, that's
Yeah.
what I was listening to.
Yeah.
Right? And then, when I really got into them, and then I listened to Kendrick and Cole, I was like, okay, some of the stuff is sonically pleasing.
Yeah.
But all of this has been done before.
Yeah.
All of this has been done better.
Yeah.
Right? And then it reached a point for me where I was like, and then it peaks a couple of years ago with Kendrick at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, I can't do like big music's revolutionary anymore.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I can't.
Shut the fuck up. I
like-
can't stand it. Yeah, it's f***ing disingenuous, and it's like you remember when the Drake and Kendrick beef was happening? Like I was enjoying the beating that Kendrick was putting on him. Not gonna lie, but at that point, I'm like, like I'm a Drake fan. Historically, I love Drake until about 2015, until about Views onwards. Like I just thought his output, it just became really derivative and it became
Mine
boring.
stopped and nothing was the same. After that, I've like
You
songs.
didn't get into If You're Reading This, It's Too Late.
That's good. That's good. That's fire.
That's his
fire.
best album. He peaked that entire run, and then he did that back-to-back diss against Meek Mill at that time.
Yeah.
That was like prime Drake, bro.
That's some good
Prime Drake can hold up with anyone. I didn't like his later stuff, so I thought like I got kind of over Drake, so I enjoyed the beatdown Kendrick put good on him a little bit. It was like kind of fun. But like looking back, it's like, no, I think I'm Team Drake. Now that I look back at it, I'm like, I'm Team Drake. Simply because Drake's not a fucking nerd.
Bro, literally, I was like,
You know what I
like
mean?
I stopped liking Drake for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And then the beef happened, right? And then the Kendrick fans were so fucking annoying that I was like, you know what? Actually, I'll take Drake, man.
Yeah.
I'll take Drake.
Yeah.
And you know, like I'm not going to Kendrick for the kind of what I'm going to Drake for, right? I'm going to them for different things.
Yeah.
I'm not going into Drake thinking this is some high concept, revolutionary anything.
Yeah.
Drake says he's like, you know, a rap artist, and that's all he is.
Yeah.
Kendrick portrays himself to be this revolutionary, but then he goes and performs at the Super Bowl, right? So it's like,
Yeah, shut the up.
yeah,
Like,
it's,
like Drake said something like, you know, Kendrick just opened his mouth, hand him over a Grammy, something like that. There was like an opening lyric to one of the diss tracks. And it's like, yeah, bro, like shut the fuck. Like the entire critically acclaimed scene, like it's just, it does my head in a little bit. Because I'll give you another example. So my favorite band of all time is Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode.
absolute awesome pick.
Depeche, if I had to pick one, like I like a lot of different people. I love Nine Inch Nails. I love The Cure. I love Pink Floyd. I love Ye.
Of course.
But if I have to pick one gun to my head, I'm going to put Depeche Mode slightly above all of these guys. So Depeche Mode, for like their first 3 or 4 albums, like they would get clowned on by like the British mainstream media. It's like, who are these, like, you know, because they were fun. They were fun.
They're great, man.
They were fun.
I've only heard like 2 albums, but amazing.
Basically, the issue that the media had with Depeche Mode is that they were too fun. They weren't like broody enough.
Okay.
They had a dark side to them, but they weren't like doing the meta at the time, which was like that Joy Division, you know, the Smiths broody type.
Okay.
And disclaimer, I love that stuff as well. They were kind of doing something a bit more fun. They were trying to make like this electro rock type fun, disco oriented, but like with a bit of a dark synth twist to it. They were doing that type of stuff and they got shat on a lot. And only it was like by like 1989, 1990, it was 1987, but by 1990, it was like, bro, these guys are undeniably generational talents. We have to give them plaudits. And I would say that they stand at this place where they influenced so many indie people. Like if you listen to Tame Impala, you can hear the Depeche Mode influence. If you listen to the top electronic artists like the Daft Punks or the Justices of the world, you can hear the Depeche Mode influence. Like they influenced both the rock and the electronic scene for years to come. You know?
Daft Punk's goated, bro.
And their influence, even Nine Inch Nails, who I think is also Trent Reznor, I think one of the greatest musical mind ever.
You put me on to that.
Yeah. Even one of the greatest, like this is one of the greatest musical mind ever, Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor. Trent Reznor makes the darkest, most intense industrial stuff ever. He even says that my biggest influence as an artist was Black Celebration by Depeche Mode. So it's like a lot
What
of
does Fantano feel about?
Fantano also had to give Violator a 10. Like I think he also did. But it's one of
Because
those
I would
things
imagine Trent Reznor type music would appeal to him because it's very.
Here's the thing. It's like all like these 30, 40 years onward, it's like it's undeniable how great they are, how incredibly groundbreaking they are. But in that moment, they got a lot of hate. So you know, so I don't necessarily take a lot of these critics in the moment critics very, very seriously. Because if it sounds good, it sounds good.
Bro, it's the Kanye sentence, bro. I'm not right. What does he say? I'm not right now.
Yeah.
I don't know something like that. But basically, he's not wrong. He's just early.
Yeah. Do I think Drake is going to be this incredibly influential artist 30 years from now, the Michael Jackson of our generation? No, I think that's going to be The Weeknd. But,
you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. He would be my 6th, by the way. If I have I gave you my top 5. If I had a 6th, it would be The Weeknd.
Because I've been really into The Weeknd. I'm not very aware of the critical discussion around him.
The Weeknd basically did like the R&B Drake thing, the entire R&B Drake scene, like, you know, the more soft boy stuff. Like that, even on Take Care, I think Weeknd gave most of his songs to Drake.
But don't you feel like House of Balloons era, The Weeknd for me, because I remember being like 13 and listening to all the like trilogy and shit, Inside Out, right?
Fantastic.
And for me, that is still, and this is, I don't even think, I'm not a purist like that when it comes to music, but for me, that is still the greatest era of The Weeknd. And you don't think so?
I love that era. I think he peaked at After Hours.
Really? I love After Hours as well, but I think that's a different quality for me.
I love that stuff, but for me, genuinely, After Hours is like, it's the best album from the past 10 years, in my opinion.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's what I rate it. I think After Hours is his magnum opus. It's a concept album, so it's like a story going on in it. if you do it, listen to it as an entire album, it flows really, really well.
No, I
The
think it's
singles
awesome, bro.
Are amazing.
Wait, is Escape from LA of After Hours? I love that song.
It's like the
bro.
emotional depth. He has the emotional depth of House of Balloons, but he's added like this really, really fun synth 80s inspired element to it. So
And he's grown up a bit, and he's like slowly, he's still like a bit debauched, but he's not like out of control, getting kicked out of
it's
hotel
like he's
rooms.
gone back into the debauch scene, and like even the musical soundscaping, it's like, you know, it's very 80s inspired, and I like, if you couldn't tell already, I love the 80s. I think the 80s.
You don't say.
The 80s is like the prime era of music, especially the alt 80s scene. I think music peaks at that time. Be it the
If
Cure,
someone
the
says to you, if someone for the sake of argument says to you that, oh, The Weeknd is like a rehashing of 80s music, what do you say to that?
I disagree. Having listened to a lot of 80s music, being very, very into the entire synth scene, which Depeche Mode pioneered, and a lot of other artists came into that scene as well. I don't think
He's got a modern touch.
He really, really took an element of the past and did not cling to the nostalgia aspect of it and really modernized it. And in fact, I think he started a trend with this because like right after Weeknd made After Hours, you saw Dua Lipa do this entire synth thing with like, you know, the Elton John collaboration. And you see this, you know, you see a bunch of these guys, a lot of different mainstream artists play with synth elements. And I think this entire neo 80s revival, Miami Vice coded, like, you know, 80s. Heat.
Yeah.
Oh, Heat is 90s. This entire revival, Weeknd, I think, spearheaded it. And I think he did it excellently. And I think it's unique to him. It's true to the style, but it takes it forward. It's like he renovated it. Let's put it like that. He renovated it. He renovated it for a modern.
What I really also love, and I have no like critical direction with this, just like just putting the audience on. Was some of his like mid 2010s features from here absolutely like some of the best vocal performances ever.
Low Life.
But earlier, Odd Look featuring Kavinsky. His I'm Good with Lil Wayne is a 2-minute track in which
heard that one. I've heard
it is
Odd Look.
beautiful. It's a minute and a half in which it's just The Weeknd singing. I think it's one of his best performances. And finally, one of those nights for Juicy J. Again, Juicy J part, nothing to like, you know, write home about. But the Weeknd performance on that is banging.
Even like some other one, like bro, Low Life, some of the Travis features, like his feature on Skeleton. Have you heard Skeleton?
It's incredible.
Fucking insane.
I've seen that live.
That's wild. Skeleton for me is the best Travis.
Astroworld 2018 in Toronto, I saw that live.
That was an album
crazy.
and a half, man. Wow. Travis peaked really, really high, not gonna lie.
Astroworld is the level of album which, as I've been a Travis Scott fan again since I was like, you know,
before Rodeo.
even for, bro, since Al Faro. Al Faro.
That's what Quintana straight from Mexico.
No, Quintana is it?
Quintana's
Days Before?
I think Quintana's Al Faro. Quintana's Al Faro.
Okay, but yeah, I've been on Travis since then, bro, but I honestly did not think he could go as high as he did on Astroworld. I did not expect that quality from him.
I mean, that entire run, it was like Days Before Rodeo, Birds. I didn't love Birds, but Astroworld,
bro, even Rodeo, like fucking bro, like 3500, pornography,
Drugs,
apple pie, drugs you should try.
Drugs, you should try it.
Drugs you should try it is one of the best songs.
Try drugs.
Drugs you should try it is the closest I've ever come to drugs, bro. I swear, it's incredible.
No. There was some good stuff. I think I trap. Yeah, I'm not keeping up too much now in the rap scene, but there was some really good stuff.
And like people were hating on like Biebs in the Trap and like shit like that, bro. For me,
fun, bro.
That was a fun album, bro. Even like the Nav song was fun, bro.
Yeah, it was fun. Like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with these music nerds. They don't know how to have fucking fun. It's like if you look at like
people are gonna come and tell us, are you seriously? Or let's say, bro, I just liked it, bro.
Brother, and here's the thing, you can't even say that to me because I've gone into the Gooner depths of the critically acclaimed shit, you know? I know the Radioheads. I know the Smiths. I love the Smiths, by the way. Smiths actually worth the hype. If you look at a Pitchfork list, like the top 10 albums, there are going to be like 3 Radiohead albums. And honestly, I would take Nickelback over Radiohead. You couldn't pay me to listen to Radiohead.
No way.
Radiohead is so fucking boring, man. It's just so fucking boring.
What do you think about like the Gorillaz?
I like the Gorillaz. I love the Gorillaz.
Fire,
I love the Gorillaz. The Gorillaz is one of those acts which have the critically acclaimed and they're fucking
fun,
fantastic.
bro. They're so
they're
fun.
Fantastic.
I love everything they're doing with like their entire little universe with the animation.
And don't get me wrong, it's not that I can't enjoy some sad boy music. Like I said, The Cure, I fucking love. The Smiths, I love.
You talk about The Cure all the time. Like,
The Cure, if there was a number 2 to Depeche Mode, it would probably be The Cure.
Okay.
It's close. Like, it depends on the mood. Like, Depeche Mode
Even
more...
like Yano and Mars are always talking about this.
Yeah, like
Shout out, Christopher.
On a day-to-day, I listen to Depeche Mode more. But when you're in the Cure mood, nothing hits like the Cure. So now that we have discussed 80s synth rock and new wave and trap, the logical segue is into
Maktubat Imam Rabbani by Sheikh Ahmed Sirhindi.
okay.
And Insane Kamil by Ruhollah Khomeini.
Okay.
Okay, no. On a serious note, we need to talk about this, bro.
Okay.
I was got some time off at work today. I was just like thinking. So I've been reading Khomeini. I've been reading Iqbal as usual.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to read some Sheikh Ahmed Sirhindi in Urdu. Very difficult, but I'm crawling through it.
Yeah.
What I found to be very interesting
Yeah.
is all three have their own version of a philosopher king, by the moment overmensch, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it, the perfect man.
Yeah.
Right? And it is not an accidental or coincidental formulation.
Yeah.
It is a direct mapping onto the world or onto the perfect man of their metaphysics, right?
Yeah.
Their perfect man is a direct reflection of their metaphysics.
Yeah.
So if you take Sheikh Ahmed Sirhindi first,
Yeah.
what he does is one of his major contributions to the Kalam or philosophy is his defense and slight correction of the unity of being Wahdat al-Wujud.
Okay.
Right? He goes from that, which a lot of people accused of being a kind of monism, to Wahdat al-Shuhud, where he said that there's no unity of
Can you
being.
explain for our audience what monism is?
So monism is the idea that there is
All
no...
is everything is one type, right?
Yeah. So that there's, to put it really simply, a lot of people accuse Wahdat al-Wujud of being, encouraging ittihad or unionism, the idea that there's no distinction between the creator and creation, right? That's the idea.
Yeah.
So Sheikh Ahmed Sirhindi, also known as Mujaddid al-Afsani, steps in
Yeah.
and says that his defense is that the real mystical experience is Wahdat al-Shuhud, so unity of witnessing as opposed to unity of being. He says that there is still a ontological separation between creation and the creator, and that unity comes in witnessing.
Okay.
As in, if I'm reaching a very high philosophical, a high spiritual state, there will come a time where I am witnessing nothing but God, and that is the metaphorical union between creation and the creator. And it is not a literal one. You don't physically become God, or he does not descend into you. Right? Which is this very controversial idea of hulul or uluhiyat, that God descends into a person or into creation.
Okay.
Right? And so there's a range of views on this. The very traditional Hanbali Asharis are very cautious because they're saying there's still room for this to be misread.
Yeah.
Some people are more accommodating, but by and large, people agree that this is not a heretical stance to have.
Okay.
How does this feed into
Insan Kamil.
Sirhindi's idea of the abd? The abd, which is the perfect servant of the Lord, right?
Okay.
He describes
Divine vice regent of Iqbal.
the equivalent of that.
Okay.
Right? So his process is something like stages of fana, which is like, to simply put, the ascent.
Yeah.
And then baka, which is, so I'll explain it. So you're rising, you're having this...
reaching up and then you reach out.
Yeah, your spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And then you have that moment of unity of witnessing, of Wahdat al-Shuhud. You have this incredible spiritual awakening. And then is the stage of baka. It's this like celebratory, victorious moment of ecstasy. But then after that, you come back to the world with a kind of prophetic sobriety, right? And you then encase yourself in Sharia, in the ways of the world again. And then you become the perfect slave. That's the abd, right? How is that mirrored in Iqbal, right? We've talked about this before, but Iqbal's Mard-e-Momin is, his first step is obedience to the law.
Yeah.
Second is self-mastery.
Yeah.
And third is God's vice regency on earth, in which you're a creative force that after you've mastered yourself, you're then manipulating and creating reality, right? Within the frame of the law, right? So how does this differ on a purely metaphysical level? Iqbal thought very highly of Sirhindi, right? And he lauded him for the corrective work he did in Jahangir's reign and correcting the excesses of Akbar, right? For example, abolishing the sajda-e-tazimi, right? Which was this act where you're doing a sajda as out of respect. He says, you can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of the Neoplatonistic syncretism that came in Akbar's reign, people, by the way, they simplify this by saying that this was Hindu-Muslim syncretism. Akbar, for like a decade, was just into sun worship because he thought that this was the perfect Neoplatonistic representation of the one on earth.
It's like the fifth intellect, man. Come on, do better.
Yeah, no, and and then I looked into it. I was like, was this not Hindu-Muslim syncretism all along? Because people use that to rile us up against Hinduism, right? Bro, it's Sohrawardi's Ishraqi philosophy, like hierarchy of lights, and then the worldly light is the sun. So Akbar is worshipping that as a conduit. But anyways, coming back to it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see Hindu-Muslim syncretism done right, it's like René Guénon probably is your best bet.
You would know better about that, but
Okay.
But yeah, so the difference there is that Iqbal is encouraging this aggressive tussle with reality, and you're this creative force.
Yeah.
And this shows because Iqbal ontologically is very pro ijtihad.
Okay.
Right? Because in his mind, the moment revelation ends, the moment the messenger comes and says, "Today I've perfected your religion for you," the inheritor of the creative forces, of the progressive forces of Islam, is the Muslim Ummah itself.
Yeah.
Right? Bound by the Quran.
Yeah.
Right? So that agency, you see, in fact, he calls this the birth of human agency because revelation has ended and now we're instrumentalizing that on a creative level. Right? So you see that difference where on the one hand, that journey towards being the abd, it reflects Sirhindi's affinity with the clerical, with the establishment of the time, and in dialogue with the time where he's just trying to reform a ruler who first sends him to jail, but then brings him out again and completely reforms the religiosity of the Mughal Empire based on what Sirhindi says. Which is why Iqbal then goes on to say that he has safeguarded like the family silver of the
I'm
Muslims.
not very, very familiar with Sirhindi. I have a question about this about becoming the divine slave.
Yeah.
Metaphysically, is it a static state or is it a state of flux? As in, like, you reach this point of fana and then baka, and then you have mastered it, and then you just have to operate? Or is it a state of like constant renovation, of becoming constant flux? You've got to maintain this state. How is it exactly? Do you get what you get?
Yeah, no, I get what you
mean.
I get what you mean.
Is it you achieve it and then it's done, or is it like a constant striving towards upwards and constantly achieving more and more of it?
So,
like an individuation, like a Khudi. So what's his metaphysical system?
It is definitely more static than Iqbal's.
Okay.
So the impression I get, again, because there's not a lot of Sirhindi available in English, I'm really crawling through the text, but my impression is that you have this one big journey in your life, which mirrors the prophetic journey where like around 40 they have this revelation, right? Then, of course, because we are non-divine mortals, we will keep having cycles, right? But there is one grand journey. As opposed to Allama Iqbal, where I think that actually Iqbal is ultimately more creative, right? But the process of saying I have first mastered the law, then mastered myself, probably does have one grand arc as well. So in that way, it's similar. But once you become the abd, which is Sirhindi's version, that leans a lot more towards obedience.
When I was reading Reconstruction, I remember there was a point where there is a implication of infinity in Khudi, like it keeps going up and up.
100%.
There's no end to it, like there's no arc. It's just like this. It's more like you keep going up and up and up as long as you're maintaining that cycle of,
so the Marde
individuation.
Moment, so the Marde moment arc and the practice of Khudi are not, they're intertwined, but they also have exclusive qualities, right? So I would say the Marde moment arc has this one grand arc, and then it could ebb and flow a bit, but there is this level of, I'm going to go this 1, 2, 3 defined stages, but the actual creative act of whether it's legislation, institution building, that I feel is infinite and ongoing. Right? And you see this in the need of the time as well. So Sirhindi is encouraging in his own time, a reformation and a coming back to the original Sunni orthodoxy of the time, right? Because it went really out of whack with Akbar's Din-e-Ilahi,
Yeah.
right? So you see where he's just trying to bring back someone who's obedient to the Lord. That fits, right?
Yeah.
Iqbal is at a stage where he feels like we're on the cusp of being emancipated and we need new and renovatory forces, right?
What are your thoughts on the lionization of Akbar and like the villainization of Aurangzeb? Because these are the two most grand leaders. But Akbar is, even in the Pak studies stuff, he was taught as this great, enlightened, brilliant leader. And Aurangzeb was kind of like, at best, he was portrayed as like this stern, Stalin-esque figure.
I am Aurangzeb all the way.
Yeah.
I can, if I set aside my personal convictions, I can respect Akbar for the grandeur and the growth he gave his empire.
Yeah.
But from a theological perspective, he was.
What about in terms of like the more temporal stuff? I mean, there's an argument to be made. Aurangzeb kind of mocked him in that too, no?
Oh yeah,
Aurangzeb had a bigger empire, a more economically prosperous empire. I'm not really well read on this.
I've read about Aurangzeb's reign. I haven't read enough about Akbar's reign to make this case conclusively. But Akbar had a great empire as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
so I'm comfortable. And Aurangzeb had a great empire as well. So I'm comfortable saying that.
Like, I see no fault in giving plaudits to Akbar. But
that's fine.
Aurangzeb was probably like greater.
I see Aurangzeb as approaching something. Any excesses aside, he had strains of being an Islamically or Muslim-inspired ruler, right? Akbar was something else entirely. Yeah. Now, coming to the third and most recent incarnation of the Islamic perfect man is Ruhollah Khomeini's Insan-e Kamil.
Okay.
Right? So, firstly, Khomeini's philosophical contributions are really overshadowed by the fact that this man then became a philosopher king and actually founded a state.
Yeah.
Right? He managed to embody a lesser version of the Insan-e Kamil according to himself in a way.
Yeah.
But bro, his contributions to philosophy are serious.
Yeah.
So so for the people who are familiar with this, the emanatory Neoplatonistic tendencies that start with Plato intensify with Plotinus, right? And then you've got, in a loose order, Ibn Sina, Sohrawardi, Ibn Arabi, Ibn Sina, Sohrawardi, and then this is the first Shia entrant, who is Mullah Sadra, who's a very serious philosopher, and then there's people in the middle, but Khomeini, right? And what's really interesting is that those who identified as Sunni in this line took the metaphysics way farther and in a heretical stead than the Shias did. The Shias corrected it. And I'm talking about relative to Sunni orthodoxy.
Okay.
Right? So like Ibn Sina and Sohrawardi went really far with it.
Yeah.
And then Mullah Sadra is like trying to bring it back in. He's trying to rein it back in. Right? It's still controversial from certain orthodox perspectives. Right?
Yeah.
But he's trying to make the right conclusions. Where like he, for example, is making a case for God's knowledge of particulars.
Yeah.
Right. And Khomeini is doing the same thing. They're great defenders of Ibn Arabi.
Yeah.
Khomeini has like an entire book dedicated to defending like Fusus al-Hikam and stuff like that.
Okay.
Right. But his case is that the monist, unionist ideas that people often get from them, right? They're only for the initiated, and because I can understand the inner meaning, I'll tell you what the correct conclusions are. Point being, he theologically tries to correct a lot of those things. Right? Anyways, what is Khomeini's metaphysics? Right? And so in Khomeini's metaphysics, there is an emanatory structure where there is God himself, and from him comes a couple of stages down, the al-Haqiqa al-Muhammadiyya, which is the reflection of God, which is a divine reflection of God of all his 99 names of his perfection.
Okay.
Right? And they believe that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was a reflection of that. Okay. So now they say that the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the Imams were those who perfectly embodied the Insan-e Kamil, but that light, that divine light, he uses Sohrawardi's hierarchy of lights, his Ashaki philosophy, to say that that light in different steads exists in saints, in Gnostics, and exists in people who can get to that level, right? Not the same whether it does to infallibles, according to him, but it does. And those who begin to embody different manifestations of the Creator through his names, or through this other concept called Viratha, which is the spiritual inheritance from specific prophets. For example, in his family name and Ruhollah Khomeini's own family name, there's Muswi, right? A lot of people have likened this to the fact that he had of the Viratha of Moses, right, of Hazrat Musa, where he was both a lawgiver and a state maker. Like that's the kind of, or a mystic and a lawgiver, right? So they've got these like insanely cool ideas with this, right?
Yeah.
I may not like theologically align with them, but I think they're very fascinating. So ultimately, he says that the person who best embodies this inner state is then fit to be the Insani Kamil, and then he takes this one step further because this becomes the basis for the Vilayat-e-Faqih, which is the entire logic of how Iran is run today and how the entire theocracy is managed today. So to sum it all up, because I've really like,
Went on a bit of a blender.
yeah, with this, is that the incredible way that Ruhollah Khomeini uses this is to form the basis of a new state, and then he embodies that himself because he actually becomes the ruler.
Yeah.
Right? Sirhindi corrects the course of the richest empire in the world and probably saves orthodoxy in a way that no one else in his day and age could have. He was jailed by Jahangir. Then there was so much agitation that Jahangir called him out and was like, who is this gem? Who is this, like, like hidden gem? Let me talk to him. And he manages to reform the entire empire by sending letters to the gentry, to the military brass, etc. Incredible work. But for me, Iqbal still takes the cake. And why is that?
Why?
Sirhindi's effort, although has eternal implications, but was for a time, right? And it was focused on the elite and he was trying to fix it through them. Khomeini's project is ultimately coalesces most meaningfully in the creation of the Vilayat-e-Faqih, and that
the real one ruler of the state.
and that state, and because they've got a more esoteric and batini focused tradition, effectively it the knowledge becomes a little more concentrated amongst like inside the seminaries of Qum, or the centers of learning, and within the marjas, right? So it's very powerful. You can see what they've done with it. But Iqbal's Marde-e-Momin is ultra democratization, not in the sense of low quality, but everyone holds the prospect of realizing it to the best of their own ability. Right? So that doesn't preclude the Ubermensch-like leaders at all. But it truly universalizes the message. And for me, that is most aligned with the fact that creative actors are what are ultimately needed to move the machine of Islamic thought forward. And that is my thesis.
Such as self. Joking.
Yeah. So I found out the other day, Ayatollah Khomeini wrote a letter to Gorbachev in the 80s.
Okay.
I had no idea about this. And it is one of the most fascinating diplomatic correspondences I've ever seen.
Okay.
First and foremost, it is unique in this era because it assumes Islam as like this metaphysical truth. Right? It's like a old age prophetic style document. Back in the day, early Islam, you'd have letters sent to emperors saying that we invite you and encourage you and your people to embrace Islam. It is literally that.
Okay.
So just to set the scene, the Soviet Union is weakening.
Okay.
And during the changes of glasnost and perestroika, which is the openness and reform that Gorbachev was trying to bring, Khomeini very, very smartly zeroes in on this opportunity and says, there's a materialism of Marxism. Do not be tempted to the materialism of capitalism. This is not an exclusive binary. And he makes perfectly the case of something that we talk about as well, which is that the political economy of the Islamicate does not have to be some balancing act between isms, between
Yeah.
capitalism and
Socialism.
socialism.
Yeah.
It is its own third way.
Yes.
It is its own original thing.
Yeah.
Right? So you see in this letter where he is assuming this truth, he is like, in today's Muslim world, for example,
Yeah.
there's a secularity in how you talk about even pan-Islamism. You'll say, oh, Muslim brethren, you're not going to talk about theological beliefs.
Yeah.
Right? He is coming at it from the perspective of theological
And he's
beliefs.
saying it to like the most materialist society's leader
Exactly.
possible. So it's like,
Exactly. And I genuinely think that when you operate from this assumption
Yeah.
of the transcendental is real,
yeah,
and you act as if it's real,
yeah,
that is the kind of metal you create in your people then.
Yeah.
Like that is the kind of afterlife horizon they have. That is why you can organize a civil defense that you kind of have in Iran right now, where when
because there's a transcendental meaning, transcendental truth that the people are fighting for. It's
Bro.
not just like just the land. If they wanted to fight for a better material life, they would have succumbed to the empire 30 years
Exactly.
ago. And they would have been better off doing that if it was just about the temporal indulgences of the current world.
Bro, imagine your day-to-day politics is assuming an afterlife. So then obviously when America says it's going to bomb your bridges, you're going to go and stand there because you're going to be like, it's okay, I'm just going to wake up in a better place. Like that's the level, that's the horizon at which they're operating at, right?
Yeah.
Which is a completely unimaginable form of politics to like the American soldier who gets 2 of his limbs blown off for a Mustang.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know what this motion is.
Yeah.
Right? And bro, he literally says, your main problem to Gorbachev, your main problem is the main problem confronting your country is not one of private ownership, freedom, and economy. Your main problem is a prolonged and futile war you have waged against God, the source of existence and creation.
In fact.
This is how he opens it.
Yeah.
Right? So, at that juncture of time, it is both a politically genius move and it is theologically incredibly assertive.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about, I'm going to just switching the topic a little bit, between the godless capitalism and the godless socialism. I take the godless capitalism every time.
Because neoliberal
least-
hell is better than socialist hell.
Neoliberal hell,
As you
is
said.
neoliberal hell is much better than socialist hell, because look, there's a sense of like hedonism.
Pankhe wali topi in neoliberal.
Yeah, there's there's a, like Mark Fisher puts it, there's a depressive hedonia, which is like,
Yeah.
at least you get to consume, at least I can, have all these nice things. It's like socialism, I'm in this nihilistic hell and I can't even have fun. So
You don't even
fuck
have
that.
reels in socialism.
Huh?
You don't have no reels, bro.
You don't even have reels,
You
bro.
don't have reels in socialism.
Yeah. So I think like unrelated, but yeah, give me neoliberal hell over socialist.
No, absolutely
a communist
related.
Marxist hell every single day of
No,
the fucking
absolutely related. And I think that unironically, what you've painted out is like Qaeda-e-Azam's like calculation and like opting for America as opposed to the Soviet Union
Yeah.
in 1947.
Yeah.
That's literally
At the end
it.
of the day, like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. Neither of these guys believe in anything. They
Yeah.
only believe in this material world, but at least we can have fun with
Yeah.
these guys.
The-
At least we're gonna wanna, send our kids to vacation and study there. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. It's like like Empire State Building versus grey Soviet Communist bloc number
Brutalist,
30.
disgusting, brutalist architecture.
Yeah.
Brutalism is not beautiful, by the way. Go fuck yourself if you think it is.
It's breathtaking in the worst way.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you spent all these resources for this.
Yeah.
But just to kind of bring it back to this, it's very interesting. He consistently talks about modes of knowledge, and he gets kind of deep in a 4-page letter into materialism and says that you think that these scientific experiments and what is observable through the senses, sensory perception, is the only way of gaining knowledge. But there are other mystical ways of gaining knowledge. This is literally the argument for gnosis.
Yeah.
Right? This is the Marfat maxing Ibn Arabi lineage that we find in both Barelvis and Shias in the subcontinent.
Yeah.
This is the legacy of this region.
Yeah.
And I may not necessarily consider myself a part of it, but it's incredibly powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, bro, the gnosis stuff, like he uses a Quranic verse to argue it, and he says, God says, vision comprehends him not, and he comprehends all vision, and he is the knower of subtleties. Knower of subtleties. knowledge of particulars. Knowledge of particulars, bro. He's Ibn Sina maxing, bro. Actually,
No, he's anti-Ibn Sina maxing.
Anti-Ibn Sina maxing. But he is Ibn Sina maxing in the sense that...
He's Ibn Sina and Al-Ghazali maxing.
Yeah.
He's both of them.
So this relates back to what I was saying earlier about Khomeini's metaphysics, where he's taking a lot of those ideas, right? And then he's putting in the spin at the end.
Yeah.
He is somehow making the Ibn Arabi case. And he's saying, no, but God's knowledge of particular is still possible, and let me show you how.
Yeah.
And the people who are the Ashris and Maturidis who come out against him in this will not say no to the conclusion. They'll say, yes, the conclusion is correct, but they'll say your methodology nulls the conclusion, right? But there's still a benefit of doubt to be given because he's trying to at least make the right conclusion, right? But yeah, bro, it's like crazy stuff. And then, where he does Ibn Sina max, like right at the end, is he's talking about like man's natural disposition or like this magnetic-like attraction towards the one, right? Which is something Ibn Sina talks about. Like, the falling rock. He says basically that everything metaphysically tends towards its own perfection. Yeah. So if you're a human, you're trying to be the perfect human. If you're a rock, you're trying to be the perfect rock. And in that same way, this is literally the lecture Khomeini is giving to Gorbachev, that the perfection of man, his attunement, is in his attunement to God. And that attunement to God is going to lead you to, like, brought in from Christianity, kingdom of God on earth, right? But yeah, brother, this is breathtaking range, and wow.
Send it to me.
I'll send it to you. We can even link it. We can make like a reading thing.
Make a link. Yeah. This is the first time you bring it up to me, but I want to read it properly.